3 up, 2 across, tap that play button 3 times, and walk through the archway into Dialogue Alley. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dialogue Alley, a podcast about Harry Potter books, book translations, and all other things magical. I am Eric.
And I'm Carly.
And the two of us are the other ones here today. Melanie is off this week, and Carly and I and Melanie are all Harry Potter book translation collectors. That means we collect Harry Potter books from all over the world, like China,
Korea,
Lithuania,
Croatia,
Australia,
Philippines,
France,
Faroe Islands,
Canada.
You had South America, low-hanging fruit.
South America, that's a continent.
Yeah, but they still have translations down there, bro.
Also true, they do.
Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii's a good
I'll go
one.
even closer to home.
Even closer. Anywho's, so welcome. We're so glad you're here on this episode. It is episode 36 of Dialogue Alley, so we've been at this for a while. And it's still June. We record on Thursdays. This is June 8th, and we're so glad you're here. And we hope you enjoyed our last episode with the rainbow cover that we made. We made a rainbow of Harry Potter book covers.
Or the book rainbow.
It is, and we're going to continue on with that theme today for the main segment in observance of Pride Month. So we're going to keep that rainbow theme going with something else for you today. But before we get to that main segment, we just have a teeny bit of news. And after the main segment, as always, we will have a translation of the show. And this is a relatively new book, so I'm excited to talk about it with you because I just got it 2 days ago. 2 days ago I got it.
I'm ready.
Ow, more SpongeBob. All right. Well, we don't even need a transition here to get to the news. So I'll just hop right into it. In translation news, The Prisoner of Azkaban has been announced for the new translation of Croatian books. So that is coming out.
I'm so excited. Those covers are fire.
They are awesome. Done. Well, and
are you buying them?
I will tell you, and that was a great question, Carly. The answer is yes, but the answer right now is no, and I'll tell you why. So to back it up a bit, because we do like to talk about translations on this podcast, that's why we started it, because we like Harry Potter translations. So Croatian had an original translator, and then they stopped publishing them for whatever reason, and just a few months ago, maybe half a year ago.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember when the first one came out. They announced that they were coming out with books 1 through 7 again in Croatian with a new translator. So it's a completely new translation. It's the same language, it's Croatian, but it's a new translator. So there are differences between these new Croatian books that are coming out and the original Croatian 7 translations. The art that they are using on these Croatian translations is it was the audiobook art that's out right now.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to the book on Audible, you're probably familiar with these covers. And this is the first time that they've been available in
tangible book form.
Tangible book form, right. So they're not like unique art to Croatia per se, but as of now, they are unique to Croatian just because it's the only physical way you can hold this art in your hand.
Kind of like, I don't know if you remember back when we had the Ollie Moss covers that were on Audible at the time for their audiobooks. And then France went in and published them, and so did several other countries. Brazil did, and several others.
Sweden too, yep.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see France do the same, to be honest, because France is one who does that. Italy's one who does that. Denmark's one who does that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this cover available in other languages. I just have to talk myself out of owning them all.
Yeah, I wouldn't think France would hop on this right away because they just released their own unique covers with brand new art in addition to their 25th anniversary original art box set. So, I agree with you.
Though.
I would not be surprised if. Yeah, that's possible because France was also one of the first to come out with a physical version of the audiobook art when it's just kind of that it was like a maroon background with just the words. Do you remember that?
That's the Ollie Moss cover that I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Swedish ones.
No.
Those are also Ollie Moss, though, aren't they?
They are. They're different. They're different pictures.
Different, yeah. So we were thinking of different things because those books also came out in a different language also. Right. So, yeah, when you get these new cover art that appears that isn't necessarily like from a local artist from that country,
it's open for grabs.
We see it borrowed all over the place. So I'm not against that in any way.
Within how we had the 20th anniversary tie by Apollo Arch, I think. I know I just screwed that up, but you know who I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah, I know. I don't know off the top of my head the actual name though.
Yeah, and within a few months of that being announced, I think it was Finland. They released their own soft cover books of that, and they're only available in soft cover that I know of. But they also use the same covers, and that was Brazil the 20th anniversary. Brazil did too, but they came after. Yeah. They came like 8 months later, but it was still they took a 20th anniversary cover that was done specifically for like Thailand, and then they made it. They're like, oh well, we like that. We're gonna do it too, and it was just a cover.
I always wonder the like the reason behind that. I wonder, like, you would think the reason is money, right? The reason's always money with books and publishing things. But is that really cheaper to pay someone for the royalties to use that versus like commission?
Okay, personally,
your own
if I
cover?
had a publishing house and I could use those that cover for books, I totally would have jumped on it because I think they're wonderful.
Oh, it's awesome. Like maybe they had something in house and they're like, we're ready for it. This is gonna, and then they like the Thai books dropped,
maybe they
and
were
they're
thinking
like,
about
oh,
a new
never
edition
mind.
anyway. And Finland is one that they've got multiple editions to begin with, and they do use other artists, so it's not unusual for them. And I could see them being like, we love this. You know, Johnny, what do you think? It's a thumbs up for me, Eric. Let's go.
Yep, let's do it.
And then that's the meeting at the table. That's their table talk. And then they get a book cover released, and a few months later, they just pay the author because they've probably already bought the rights. I am guessing by how many they've released, they may have even bought them into perpetuity because they've released a lot. Yeah, I don't know how that works since they're a relatively larger language. I know smaller languages can do perpetuity rights, but that's not the point of the news. The news was that release of Croatian new cover, and we went on a tangent.
We did. So new translation of Croatian is out mid-June.
New translation, new tangible cover, 2 new things, really cool. And they're hardcover. They're really cool.
They are. And to answer your question, I do have the first book because that completes my collection criteria. I don't know if I want all 7 of these, and I'm not going to decide that until they've all been released because for some reason they're not all out at the same time. Like they're releasing them one at a time. Yeah, exactly. To see if there's a box set and even to see if another language takes this cover and does things a little bit differently that I might be interested in. So
if there's like a new language that comes out with these covers, because if a new language comes out with these covers, I've got to keep. Well, for my collecting criteria, which is everything, because I'm a nutcase, I still have to keep them all. Which just made me so sad because I just realized it now. Because it's like I can sell them, and it's like, oh wait, I can't.
Can't. So my criteria is everything.
Yeah, and so cool. Thumbs up for me, guys.
Thumbs up. The other small bit of news is that I think Armenian book 5 is out.
Armenian book 5 is out. Yeah, Harrison actually just picked it up. There's a really cool Armenian bookstore in the Los Angeles area called Arno's Books or whatever it is, I think is what it is. Anyway, Harrison's going to hear that and be like, no, Carly, it's this. But Arno's, I think, the shop owner. Anyway, he's nice. And that's Harrison picked me up a book 5 from there. And it's out. He said it's really big, which makes sense. It's book 5. And Armenian book 1 is already large. So I figure it'll be like Croatian book 5 or Lithuanian book 5. You know, one of those big weapony type books, I figure is what I'm in for. And what's cool, and for those who may have forgotten, they use the Katsukabuishi art.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, cool. See, you
and
know.
I was going to say the foiling on that book is out of this
phenomenal.
world. So
I shared a picture on our story, the Dialogue Alley podcast, last night because I found a picture of all 5 and the foiling is phenomenal. And I was like, oh, cool, I've got to share. So
that is my favorite Kibuishi cover, period, is
Same.
book 1 with the foil. Like, I think that is
Yep.
the best overall book 1 Kibuishi cover.
I was so excited. I know I've told this story a few times, but it's still super relevant. So I'm going to retell it again. When I met
Go for
Katsu
it.
Kibuishi, he came to one of the Austin, like I forget what it's, book people events. And I went with Xander. I met up with Xander. And Xander is like a Greek citizen who lived in the States and did different things. So I was like, he'll take the Greek Katsu Kibuishi. It'll be fine because that made sense. He took Armenian. And I was like, I wanted the only Armenian signed by Katsu Kibuishi. Like, I picked it. I looked at it. I thought long and hard. And to me, that's the prettiest that's the prettiest with the foiling. That's the prettiest depiction of Katsu Kibuishi. The colors are so good. The boards are so good. The book is made so well. Like, it just deserved to be signed. And so I took it and, Xander and I were laughing. And he's like, well, I'll let you go first since, I was supposed to bring Greek and I didn't. I was like, yeah, you will. So I showed it to Katsu for him to sign it. And he's like, what language is this, Russian? And I was like, no, it's Armenian. And he's like, that's cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. And I was like, it's a thing.
Thing.
But
And
he
now
thought
you're
it was
signing
really cool
one.
too. Like, he thought it was really pretty too. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then he signed Xander's, and Xander's wasn't as cool because he'd just seen mine. So I still won that one, I felt like. Yeah.
What's that? Another Armenian? Huh.
Yeah.
I've seen that before.
He's already got the shirt. It's fine.
Yeah. That's funny. And then I guess really, really teeny bit of news is that you are shelving your books after we finish recording tonight. So
it's only been 19 months in the making.
I know. So that's really exciting. We don't have to go into super detail. That's all we got to say about it because I can't wait to see pictures of when you start getting stuff.
There will be videos. I'm trying to figure out the best angle to get videos. There will be videos of this because it's going to be entertaining. You're going to see a little bitty me, like with a giant shelf waddling into frame. Because it's going to be an event. It'll be great.
Well, I am looking forward to following that and to finally have all of your books
I haven't
to look
opened,
at. It's going to be great.
So going back to what Melanie asked, I've still not opened a single book box because I want to enjoy doing it. I don't want to be stressed about it. I don't want to be worried about it. I don't want to be pressed for time because my books are always my me space. And if I take the fun out of my me space, there's just no fun in it. I mean, it's a me thing, so why am I I'm just going to sit and enjoy it. So I've not opened a single book box at all. So I'm very excited to actually start. I am looking for other shelves on like the Buy Nothing groups and stuff like that, because if I don't have to put more shelves together, that would be my favorite part of all of this. I'm still looking for shelves. So if you're in the Salt Lake City area and you happen to be getting rid of bookshelves, I happen to be needing bookshelves. It's cool how that works.
It is. It is very cool how that works.
You never know. I'll plug that. And I think that's the news.
I think so too. Shall we move on to our main segment?
Why not? So we decided to continue on, like Eric mentioned earlier, with the topic of like rainbow themed books, which to be fair, a lot of the books are pretty colorful and they're pretty rainbow themed. But we're
being intentional because it's June.
We're being intentional because it's Pride Month, it's June. And also, whenever I think of rainbow Harry Potter books, there's three different sets that come to mind. And one of them is the one that I'm talking about today. And I'm going to be super honest. It's not the most spectacular set, but there's something very endearing about it to me. Like, it's one that a lot of collectors pass over. It's one that if you're collecting everything like this nutcase who's talking,
it's one that I don't have, which I like talking about because I like learning about it.
It doesn't meet a lot of collector criteria because it's not overwhelmingly awesome. But when you look at the fine detail, it's actually pretty cool. And the reasoning behind why it was published is also kind of cool. It's not super rare either, so it's easy to acquire. So with that, we'll get into the set that it is.
Well, and there is something to that where
it's nice to find, like
we've
when
talked,
we did the if you're trying to start collecting Harry Potter books and you're on a super tight budget, this is a great book to have, because even in first print forms, you can buy this set for, I mean, I sold a whole first print set in overall, I would say, acceptable to good condition, depending on the book, for $70 for all 7 books. So $10 a book.
Well, and again, like we talk about box sets. I don't collect box sets, and the ones I do have are like the top of the top, like the French set that's super hard to find,
the
right?
Thai 20th anniversary.
So they're beautiful and they're rare and they're hard to get into the country.
Right. And they're weighty.
This set,
isn't that.
This set isn't that. However, it's not the traditional 1 through 7 American books. So if you're looking for something on your shelf that's different and that can pop for not a lot of money, this is a great go-to. So let's
talk about it.
Which one is it? I know.
We've had such a lead into it. It is called the Celebratory, or movie tie-in. Sometimes you'll see on eBay, especially on eBay, sets, and they were published all by Bloomsbury UK. Books 1 through 7 were made. And what's neat is they're adaptations of the original first edition art. So there's some differences, and you'll know it when I discuss, like, I'm just going to discuss book 1 just because it's the most recognizable, right? And it's the one that has, it's that! Way to go, bravo! You have it.
I have one of these, but I believe mine is from Australia.
Probably because they're published in Australia, and we'll get into that in a minute. Because it does matter a little bit.
Yeah, I got mine from someone, from my sister.
Yeah,
who got it from me in
so
Australia.
These look slightly different from the first edition. They have a red, back, a red spine, and then they have, can you hold it up so I can describe it a little bit better? Since I don't have it in my hand. And then the top part is blue, the bottom part is a bright red, and it's got a border with stars around the Thomas Taylor artwork, which is the original artwork from the book 1, and then at the bottom it's got gold foiling that says Bloomsbury. And so the edition with the stars, a lot of people are like, I don't know what it is, it's kind of pretty. It's the celebratory, depending on how you say it, or movie tie-in edition. And specifically, these were published alongside when the movies came out. And so the first edition, first print of this one came out in 2001, because that's when the first movie came out. And they just, every time that they had a movie come out, they had one of these books come out. So they're never going to be first edition. Sometimes you see other editions that are released at the same time, like the deluxe edition, the adult edition, the children's quote unquote edition. They were all released at the same time. And so down the line, they were all considered quote unquote first editions. You just picked your cover. This will never be that, because the movies came after the books were released anyway. And all 7 books are published for UK and for Australia. The quality is very different, though.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the Australia books tend to be made, in my opinion, slightly better. And importantly, Canada, Rain Coast published books 1 through 3 in the Magic Edition. Only books 1 through 3. And they look almost the exact same as the books 1 through 3 out of this edition. But instead of Bloomsbury at the bottom, it says Magic Edition.
Okay.
And it also is there's 1 or 2 stars on that front that are slightly in different places, if you can believe that.
Okay.
But I used to actually be able to pick them out. I can't anymore because I've gotten new hobbies and gotten busier and thankfully forgotten that tidbit of information. But there are some small, minute differences like that with the Canada edition. And those aren't the celebratory editions. Those are the Magic editions. And only books 1 through 3 were made. And I don't know why they stopped after 3. It kind of makes me sad.
Yeah, well, I guess my impression of this book, which I'm just going to say now before we get too far into it. Yeah, I would be
interested because I don't have an Australian version of this book. I just have the UK.
And I only have an Australian version. However, I think it's really, and my spine is hopelessly faded, but my sister got this for like $8 at a bookstore, and the sticker's still on the back, which is really cool, on Bondi Beach in Australia, which is awesome. I'll shout it out. Gertrude and Alice Cafe and Bookstore in Australia, Bondi Beach. If you ever go to Bondi Beach,
go to the bookstore.
You too
there.
could also buy a very faded book because it's probably really sunny by the beach, and maybe they don't shade the windows very well. Anyway, compared to other like celebrations of Harry Potter that we've seen with books coming out, I really think this is a cool way to do it. It's art that you're familiar with if you grew up in the UK, Canada, Australia, South Africa, India,
everywhere but the US, pretty much.
Everywhere but the US, and you got the English books. It's familiar, yet it's different, and they added just more foil and more sparkles, and even on the spine, there's foil on the spine that shines, and it's just kind of
pretty.
It's what you have, but it's different enough where if you just like put them side by side, cover up, they look totally different.
Yeah, they do.
Unlike a book that we're going to talk about in a little bit, in the translation of the show, because that's really like to use your word, Carly, the juxtaposition between the two it's not comparable even. Like they're not even close. So I really like it. I really like these. These are really cool. And I kind of want more of them now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, I can help you get all of them. I know a guy. The guy is me.
Oh, okay.
But my favorite part of this whole, like all of them actually, books 1 through 7, my favorite part is actually the back. Because I like how that, like on the back of book 1, I love how red it is. The stars carry over there. There's not foiling. But you also have Dumbledore on the back cover. It's just instead of a blue background like what you get with the first edition, it is the red, like it's kind of a pinky red, right? It's not a really red, like lipstick red. It's a pinky red that goes more to pink. But you get some of the stars on the back too. So again, by looking at the back cover, you know it's not a first edition, but you still get the art that you know, and you could recognize it. And again, this is 2001. So they're trying to associate it with the franchise that they're trying to build so much. Movie 1 is coming out, and they're really trying to build the franchise, right? So they're releasing this book again. And they want it to look similar, but also different, celebrating the release of the movie. And I think they've done that very well. You know, the adult editions... The first edition, adult editions came out in, the first one were 98, very, very early on. And then we had some other adult editions that came on. But the adult editions were such a departure from this art. You know, they look nothing like what we see here. So they're really trying to tie it back into the movie, the franchise that they're trying to build. Here's Dumbledore, here's this. And they're really trying to say, huzzah, we've made it. We're doing well. Buy the book. They've made it really, really attractive to the eye. And what's cool
to me is interesting because it's only 2001, right? So the books haven't been out for that long.
But if you think about what was going on in time,
there already are different editions. There's adult editions, UK specifically. US, we kind of did the same thing, just in softcover and hardcover, slower. But there already are different editions of this book if you like really like it. But they're like, hey, you know what? Like we could just promote those, or we could come out with one that looks amazingly shiny and new, even though they've only been out for a little bit, and make it available and release one every time a movie comes out. And the hype is only going to get bigger. So
exactly,
like, that is exactly so cool that they did
it's very
that.
well thought out. Something else that I really like about this book that we talked about a little bit earlier is that it's very accessible, even in first print form. You can buy even the Bloomsbury UK one in first print for maybe $20, condition depending, right? They're around. They made a whole bunch of them. I want to say, I don't have the bibliography in front of me right now that says the numbers, but I want to say it's something like 90,000, 100,000 copies of the first print alone. Because again, they're celebrating the movie. They want it to be widely, and I could be really, really off, but there's a lot of prints of this book out. Like they're not hard to find in any print.
Which is interesting because occasionally I see these for sale and people are claiming that they're worth a ton of money, and they're just not.
No,
And
and that was something I'm glad you touched on that because that's where I was going to go next.
okay, and I to continue my thought about that, and then you can chime in, is that again, being an American, we did not have these books. We didn't have any of the UK art. So even like a Canadian book would be like, oh my gosh, I want that. Right? This is still 2001. We're not like surfing the web on our smartphones, right? We're having to
Right.
like dial up the internet,
Oh,
somehow
AOL was a
find one.
thing.
Yep. And just importing books that we already had wasn't a thing. Why would I need to import a book from England when I can read it here? They already have one at my store. So why do I need to get a different one in English? That was just such a strange concept to me. But this book still, when it shows up on eBay now in 2023, it looks different. It's a book that we're not used to seeing in the States. And people are like, whoa, that must be rare. And then people always put like, it's a first edition, first printing of this celebratory edition. And they're like, whoa, that must be a big deal. It's not in terms of rarity. However, in terms of coolness, it is a cool book. So you should get one, but you should not pay more than like $20 to $30.
No,
and maybe a little
30's
more
a
with shipping.
stretch.
I don't know. Like, ugh.
Unless it's
So when I
absolutely
see them listed and I cringe. I'm like, no, it's not worth that much money.
well, and a lot of
But-
people also mislist them as first print, first edition, and
Right.
and I know enough to know that I have a hard time understanding why they think that. I also know enough to know why they think that. And I also know enough that some people are just trying to dupe someone because there's always that swindler in the mix. But most people really don't know what they have.
Right. That's a good
Trying
point.
to give the benefit of the doubt here, and I usually try to do that. They don't know what it is they're selling, which is usually the problem. And the buyer who buys it doesn't know what it is that they're buying. And then you see these discussions and you see people talking about, oh, this book sold for this much money. But you have to look at the context of which it sold. Did the buyer know what they were buying? Did the seller know what they were selling? Is it a one-off, or are they selling like that in masses to create a market?
Right.
Right? If this book sold for like $5,000, let's say, unsigned as it is, and every other one sold for 20, I'd say, well, that makes me sad.
Yep.
To be honest, because the book isn't worth it. It's still around in any print you want to buy. Really, it's still around. You can go pick one up at many thrift stores over in UK, as far as I've been told. And I've picked them up. I've owned several different sets of these. That's why I told Eric earlier I knew a guy, and the guy is me, because I've owned several different sets of these, and I've parted out different books to get better conditions as
Sure.
over the years, because they're so easily acquirable, even in first print form, that I can buy one from off eBay, Facebook Marketplace, e-commerce site, buy nothing groups, wherever have
Well,
you.
and I would
for
also assume
minimal.
that because these were released when the movies came out, they weren't making more of book one when movie two came out. They just made book one, and there it goes.
Yeah.
And then they made book two, and there it goes. So they're not like.
Well, I think that they were reprinting them as the movies came out.
I think they
though.
they
had
were,
to
but what I'm saying is like they weren't. The print run of all of these was a lot.
It was a lot.
Sorry, that
and
was very unclear of me to say. But like the print run for every single one was a lot. So
and
they're not like, oh, we should make more because people are buying
the movies, right? Because these are movie tie-ins. Think about the hype around the movies, especially books or movie 7, 8 technically. The hype was unreal. The series is ending, massive hoopla, to use that wonderful word.
Love
Big
hoopla.
parties, all of that kind of stuff. It was a big to-do. So these books, they made a lot of them. That's just what they had to do to keep the hype up, to keep the series relevant, keep a hype up, keep people interested. Because especially, movie 7 and 8, there's space between, and they had to keep people interested in the story, especially if they've already read the books. They have to keep people interested in the story. So they had a big to do. They made a lot of it. And that's what these books are tied to. And they're really fun. And why I think of the rainbow is the spines are so pretty, right? Like they're foily, at least mine are, if I remember properly. I haven't seen these in 2 years, so I apologize. But the spines are so pretty. So when I think of a rainbow set, like this is one of the three actually that pops in my head as that's a rainbow because the colors are so solid on the spine, even though yours is dramatically faded. And I don't know if Australia did it, but UK, they're really solid colors. They're stout. Like I've got a picture actually of a rainbow that I made terribly using Photoshop back in 2019. But it shows all the different, spine colors and they're so pretty. And what's also interesting is there's not a box for this at all. There's no box set for these. So again, if you're not collecting a box set, great, you're in luck. You just get the 7 books in your set. There's no like, oh darn, there's a box. Kind of like what we're doing with Croatian and like waiting. Or what if Armenian comes out with a box when they finally get those done? I would probably be heartbroken. Same with Croatian. But there's not a box. We don't have any additional box art. It's just what we have here. They're not available in hardcover, so you don't have to worry about that either. They just are what they are. So they're very, very great to add to the collecting, whatever, if that's what you want to do. They're easily acquirable. They're easily accessible, available on many many e-commerce sites, Facebook groups, trade groups, collector groups, whatnot. So they're a great place to start, I guess, is what I'm going to. If you want to do something that's not first edition and is affordable, this is a great set for you.
Absolutely.
And they're not super hefty to ship either. Like
no, and I literally went to Google and typed in Harry Potter Celebratory Edition. You can go to Thrift Books or A Books and get each of these used for like under $6.
Yeah. And they really are pretty.
Varying conditions, right? But
right.
They're not hard to get.
Now,
which is why I'm like, oh, they're not worth $7,000.
No, not even as a set. They're not $1,000 books or even $7,000 books individually. Jesus, no.
We should talk about the colors of all of them though.
We are going to. I don't have them pulled up, but
I do.
But you can, and I will say really, really, really briefly. While I think they are beautiful, and every time like anyone talks about making like a book rainbow or whatever, when we did the thing last week, I always think of this set because of the spines. They're so beautiful. But the caveat to these are they don't wear well. The spines crease pretty easily and they fade really easily, as you know, as I know. And I had like my first, and also importantly, Book 5 is available in 2 different variants. One is a very slim variant with Bible thin pages, and one is a very fat book. But either way, they don't wear very well, especially on the spines, is what I've noticed. The set that I have now, if I remember properly, I don't have any tears along the spine anymore because my Book 5 at one point was totally ripped off on the bottom of the spine. But it was a $2 book,
Right. You can't fault for that.
I can't get mad, but I can sell it later for $2, which is what I did. But, they just don't wear well. So be prepared for that. Be prepared for the good condition to look good or less with these, I guess, is what I want. I want to keep your expectations reasonable so you don't buy them. Yes. Like, you said they were going to be beautiful, and I think they are, but I don't mind wearing my books, where some people are really, really picky. So I just have to throw that in there before we talk about how pretty the spines, I think they really are. And I think you do too, because they really are a good rainbow. Like on the shelf, they're remarkable. It's a great rainbow. I can't wait to set them up.
I will add really quick, they do look very similar to the deluxe edition books from the UK.
I think they're supposed to.
In terms of like, they are with the smaller square that features the art, and then it's a solid border around the edge. And those all have like the not fake, but like not actually signed, but printed J.K. Rowling signature on the front of all of them. They look very similar. They're different. They don't have all the stars on them, but that was done intentionally as well, I believe.
I think it was very intentional to tie the deluxe editions again back into these books.
Yes.
Right? I feel like everything was done very deliberately to tie the series together, because you have the very elegant deluxe editions out over here that, red, green, blue, purple, whatever, many different colors. And then you have the first editions, which have different illustrators and are kind of, they don't work together as a set, in my opinion, which we briefly talked about. And then you
those
have
books, though, I want to say, like, the deluxe ones, they are a little more expensive just because they're hardcover books.
Right.
So
And they've
like,
got the
not,
gold foiling on the edges, things like that. And
yeah.
they're
So
made to be finer.
they're not worth a ton of money, but they are worth more money than I think these ones.
Yeah, I prefer these to the deluxe. The deluxe editions.
I do too. The art,
don't do
honestly, I
anything for
prefer
me.
this one's. Nope, I agree with you 100%.
Oh,
Which
cool. Team weird.
Yep, I think
love
the art
that,
on these
'cause
are way better.
Most people are like, "What? I love them," and they just. I can go on actually a rant about why I dislike them, but that's another episode.
But we won't,
so
because
let's talk about the spines.
I don't have a picture of the spines. I only have a cover, but the spine is just a carryover of the front two colors.
It just wraps around. It just wraps around.
Book 1, so I guess I'll just say that the top color and the bottom color of the covers. So like the cover that the part of the cover that Harry Potter is in is different than the color around the art. So book 1, we just talked about the top is a very dark blue. The bottom is a reddish color. I'm going to say, I don't think it's as pink as the 4th book though, but so I think it's just more of like a red. I'm just going to say red.
Yeah.
Book 2 is more of it's a dark blue, but it's not quite as dark. And then around the image on the bottom is light blue. Book 3, the top is a very vibrant blue, but the around the art is purple, which
it's such a good purple.
We always associate book 3 with purple for some reason, because so many people do it.
Well, but also the first edition had the purple, right? Like when you look at the first edition Bloomsbury book, there was there was purple. So it just carried over.
Yep. Book 4 looks a lot like book 1. So the top is a bluish color. The bottom is kind of a brighter red.
But it's a very pink in person. If I remember properly,
pink.
It's very pinky. Yeah. And I know I just
said
book 1 is pinky,
is orange.
but it's a pinky red. This one is like, it's pink, you guys.
It's pink. It looks red, but it's pink. Book 5, it's blue on the top again. And I cannot describe the different shades of blue. They're all like a varying shade of blue, except for the very last one.
But it's a dark blue, kind of.
It's dark blue, but the bottom is yellow with some black stars, which is pretty cool.
And it's a good yellow, though. It's a good yellow.
Yeah, it is. It's not like it's not too like sunshiny. It's a little bit darker, which is nice.
It's like a good crayon yellow is how I think of it.
Yep, and then book 6 is kind of a dark turquoise on the top, but a bright green on the bottom. And book 7 is kind of like a mauve-ish purple color, but then the bottom part is black with gold and orange stars, which looks really poppin'.
My favorite book of the lot in person is book 4. And it is simply because of the size, how it feels in my hand, and all the things that we go through in the tots actually is that book. Like, I love it for all of those reasons. To me, it's outstanding. Photograph-wise, though, my favorite book is 7 because it is just stunning. That black and black and black, or that dark mauve with the black and the stars and the foiling. Like, it's very stunning, especially with the inside art. It's a stunning book. And it's nice to see in person, too. But when you see it in person, one of the things about these covers is the fingerprint smudges. And this one, because it's black, the fingerprint smudges show pretty well sometimes. So that irks me.
Well, I think based on the cover art that I'm looking at, I would agree that 7 is my favorite. Although I really do like that book 5 is very different. Like the top is blue and the bottom's yellow. Like it's a really, really stark
it's a vibrant,
contrast
good yellow, and the contrast
of the color,
juxtaposition of color.
Oh, juxtaposition.
Ooh, as I like to say, is really well done here. Like it really and that's for the larger, the fatter book with the usual sized pages, and then also the very slim book. They're both very, very stunning to see in person. I have copies of both because I am that guy.
Well, sure you are.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess there you have it.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like rainbow theme for this month of June for Pride Month, I agree. This is like
it's a
colorful.
Good set.
It's fun. it's like, it's just, when I look at these books, I feel happy. Like,
Yeah.
well, as you should. It's a celebratory edition of a book. So, like, I feel happy looking at these covers. There's stars. It's like a big hooray. So
Yeah.
I think they're done really well. And pick them up if you want to get a cool set of Harry Potter books, especially if you don't have UK art. Like, and you don't have a lot of space. They're not expensive.
And they don't take up a lot of room on your shelves, but they do dress them up. I highly recommend you get them, Eric.
Okay, Carly, we'll see what we can do about that.
No, they're really good, especially if you're a budding collector and you don't know where you want to go yet. Right?
Sure.
They're good. Even if you decide you don't want them later, they're a great placeholder kind of thing. Like, they really are.
Awesome.
The one caveat really is the quality, because they really were mass produced, and Bloomsbury didn't do well when they mass produced things. We've talked about that in the past. So that's kind of the one caveat to them, but otherwise they really are delightful little things, and you can acquire the sets for not a lot of money. So it really is a great place to start, especially if you want to get different art from US stuff.
Yep. For sure.
Also, just to be careful to know what it is that you're buying, and that you're not spending a lot of money on what you think is a first print, first edition, when it's just a movie tie-in. And it says so on the copyright page. You just have to know what you're looking for.
True. And I will point out, too, that if you buy these books now, you can't buy them new. So if you're buying them used, you're supporting a used bookstore. You're not supporting...
Yeah, Joe gets no royalties if that's a worry of yours. Like, they're all out of print at this point. So... yeah, there's that.
There's that. And I think now that we said there's that, I think we should move on to the translation of the show.
To the other that. So the translation of the show, Eric has already kind of mentioned, is, it's the 25th anniversary Sorcerer's Stone edition. And I mean, you guys...
That's American English.
It is American English. And there's so many ways I could go, and in my mind, none of them were kid friendly. So I'm just going to keep on going. It's one of those that it's just underwhelming. Like, for what they could have done to it, it's just underwhelming, in my opinion.
We'll get into... Yeah, maybe we should just do the scale first, and then
Let's do the scale, and then we'll talk about it.
Then we'll talk about it. So, I guess this book was published now, 2023.
Yeah.
All 7 books came out at the same time, 2023. They're only available right now in paperback. I believe there is a hardcover version of them coming, but they're not going to be the same.
I hope not. I hope the hardcovers come out and we're like, wow, this is what I wanted always.
I know.
I think I'll be disappointed there too, but I don't know. Maybe they're testing the waters with these guys. Maybe they're listening to our podcast and be like, they know what's up. We'll change it because they have a bead on the market.
Maybe. So you can acquire these books very easily. It's
the
1 out of 5 for rarity. It's
what's the price on the back? Because I don't know how. I don't remember.
The sticker price is $12.99 US is on mine. I had no problem going to Barnes and Noble. I was going there for a birthday gift for my friend, and while I was there, I'm like, oh gosh, I should walk over to that section of the store, and I did. And there they were, and so I just grabbed one. So yeah, not hard to find. You can get them at Target. Melanie got it at Target for like 20% off the sticker price. So you can get them anywhere. Amazon, anywhere you can get books in the US. You can find these. They're not hard to find. Where did you get yours, I guess, now that we're on the subject?
I got mine at my local Barnes & Noble and Sugar House. Woo!
Perfect. I got mine at Barnes & Noble in Burnsville, Minnesota.
I walked in and I was like, it was the same thing. I walked in to buy something else and I was like, I should walk to that section of the store. The books are out. I guess I should see them in person. We have a podcast. So it was
I
more
was,
like out of duty
I know.
to,
Well,
to do it. I wasn't as
I
excited.
mean,
Like, Melanie talked about it, and I wish you were here for this. I wish we were here for all of it. But, you know, when the Brian Selznick covers came out, I was beyond elated. It was brand new illustrator, brand new art. It was a very different departure, a very nice departure from what we'd always seen out of the US. And I also really enjoy Brian Selznick independently of Harry Potter, so I was thrilled to have him a part of one of my favorite franchises. Um, and this feels again like one of those board meetings where like, Eric, what if we take the same book we've always made and put a gold foiling border around it and call it good? Okay, Carly. All right, let's go
yeah.
get lunch and go out on the back nine. That's how I feel
So
like it went.
I guess we can get this out of the way right away now before we talk about the rating scale. Um, I agree. I'm underwhelmed that this is like the quote unquote 25th anniversary. There was
Yeah.
nothing even at my Barnes and Noble about
There was no
this.
signage.
Like,
There was no nothing.
It was just mixed in with the regular books. They had a really, really awesome display going. It was like you can still buy first edition hardcover books 1 through 7.
They're not $5,000 either.
Nope. You said they were up to like print like 118 or something.
118.
Yep.
It's
Still
ridiculous.
first edition. The price is high though, but you can still get Mary Grand Prix hardcover books. They had some
they're still there.
Kibuishi ones there. They had some.
They had all of them. So Brian Selznick too.
Yeah, the Brian Selznick, the illustrated. But then they just kind of spruced these in like with
like
the rest
they
of them.
weren't even on a separate table. They were literally just off. Like at least at
shelf.
mine, I went to 2 different Barnes and Nobles to look, and they were like, here are these books. Here's the first edition. Here's the illustrated, and here's the Brian Selznick. Here's the whatever. There was no signage saying 25th anniversary. In fact, when I was checking out with this book, the lady at the counter, she was like, "Oh, this is a really pretty book. I like the foiling." And I said, "This is the 25th anniversary edition of this book." And she was like, "Oh, they could have done better." And I was like, "Right."
Yeah.
Now,
so
yeah.
I will say I'm going to leave this here. Like this statement stays here and not going into the ratings. I'm very underwhelmed with this.
Yeah.
It's okay. It just really isn't what we were hoping for. It's nothing like the books we literally just talked about in the main segment when the movies came out. It's nothing like the UK book that came out even, which was just a sticker on the original Thomas Taylor art with extra content on the inside. And like that would have been great. This is just nothing like that. So as an anniversary book, if this is the anniversary edition of this book, underwhelmed.
I would hate to see what they do for the 30th.
Really, really not excited about it.
It's very underwhelming, like what you were saying. And I had something else to say and it slipped my mind, but it'll come back. It's
okay. It'll come back.
It's one of those that I bought because I felt like I needed to own it, not because I wanted to own it. I do like the back cover is different. I do like that.
Yeah.
But this
and
to me
all
feels...
7 make a spine picture. If you put all 7 together, that's cool. But they don't come in a box set. So
this feels like it was
they will
very,
eventually.
this feels very lazy to me.
It does.
Like they didn't do anything original. They didn't do anything big. They didn't do anything hardly. Maybe the hardcovers, they'll surprise us all and they'll vindicate themselves. I don't know. But I'm disappointed.
But let's put all of that aside, and now we're going to just look at the book itself, not even thinking about the anniversary.
Judge the book by the tot scale.
Judge the book by the scale.
Very objective tot scale here.
All right, so we're starting with smell, right?
And I actually do own this book. My book is across the street at my house. I'm in my neighbor's basement. I did sniff it before I left here. I was worried I would leave another book elsewhere, and I would like to keep them all under my roof now. So
what are you going to give the smell, Carly?
Acceptable.
I rather like it.
To be fair, my Barnes & Noble also just smells acceptable that I bought it from. So it could have just been it picked up the smell of the bookstore. But mine, it wasn't anything. It wasn't bad. It was kind of had a sweet tinge to it. So it was like I would say acceptable plus, but it certainly didn't exceed expectations.
I'm I am going to give mine an exceeds expectations. I think it smells rather lovely.
Were your expectations low?
I don't know. But I think it's a good smelling book. I really like it. It smells like my Barnes & Noble, which apparently smells better than yours.
Mine did not smell great, apparently, but it doesn't smell bad. It's just when I compare it to other books that were exceeds expectations, I can't say this is there, but it's also not bad. So it's like acceptable plus is the best way to rate it for me.
Sure. Okay. Size and proportions, I'm giving it an exceeds expectations. Honestly, it is exactly the same as all other Mary Grand Pré versions
paperback.
of
School
this
market
book in paperback form.
It's this size.
And I really do think, especially for the first book, the Scholastic paperbacks, they do feel really great in your hands also, which I'm giving it exceeds expectations too. I think it's just a really great paperback book. The spine does crease a little bit when you open it if you're going to read it. However, it feels sturdy. It feels like there's weight to it, so it feels really great in your hands in that sense also. But it also feels great in your hands because the size and proportions for this paperback book are just really great.
Yeah. I actually really do enjoy
E
how
for
this
that
book
and E for feels in your hands too.
I'm going to actually agree with you on both of those. I enjoy the size and proportions of this book, and like I do all Scholastic paperbacks of the Sorcerer's Stone, and I like how it feels in my hand. I like the weight. I think they always use a good quality paper, even in the soft cover, and I will give them that.
Yeah.
And I feel like their cover wraps are really good, which gets into quality. Really so I guess we'll delve into quality now. I don't know how the foiling will wear over time. I will say if it's like the foiling that was used on the first edition softcover books, as well as the hardcover books, the foiling tends to last through being read quite a bit. So I think it's probably the same. But I'm going to give the quality actually and exceeds expectations here as well. And
absolutely agree with you. Agree with you on all of those points.
And you're a school teacher. You see these books get read repeatedly.
Oh, these softcover ones, those are the class sets that they own for the school. Like they're in the school library, but like they have like a giant 40 set of this first book. But it's the purple spine one.
Right.
And
they get read.
They're still going. And they do have the plastic clear wrap around them just to preserve them.
But the pages stay in. The binding stays intact. Yes. And that's what's important here. And they're not reinforced library editions, which there is an edition of. This is important to point out. So these books are meant to be, they really thought about, I feel like, the quality more than the cover art, if you will. Because I think that they're stout. I think they're well made. I'm going to give quality probably and exceeds expectations plus, if not outstanding, for a paperback here. I'm gonna actually say outstanding for a paperback because you see
all the things you just said kind of make me want to say outstanding too. So I'll do it. I'll go to outstanding also.
But you see it in person. You see how they stand up. Like they are good books. And when your kids start reading them, you're gonna witness it again in real time. So, these are meant to really, really, really be read and read well. And they don't. And I've bought several really well-read Harry Potter books over my lifetime, and I can honestly say I don't remember any of the softcover US books with the pages falling out.
No, my very first ever book is this paperback one that I'm holding up,
and no loose pages.
No loose pages. The foiling is still spectacular.
Look at that.
The cover it's a little slicker because I've read it and thrown it in a bunch of bags because I used to just bring this and read it as a comfort book. But it looks like it's kind of falling apart, but it's really
it's really not
holding together pretty well. And this is like a book from the 90s that I've read a bunch of times.
If you slap some, wow, you're a time traveler. That should be like 1999.
Yeah, what is mine? I wonder. I know I've said it before. This is it's been to the beach. It's gotten rained on. It just holds up. Where is my cover
also,
page?
What's cool is the paper's not yellowing as much as some of the others that are newer.
It's still If I look
Yeah.
up the cover, it is yellowing, but this is a fourth printing. Came out in 1999.
Yep. So yeah,
So,
late 90s book.
and this was a book orders book from Scholastic Book Orders.
I love the Scholastic Book Orders. That was a magical time. And what's cool, Eric, is if you throw some foiling around the border, you have the 25th anniversary.
You do. So that goes to interpretation of the cover art, which, like, I hate saying this because it's the anniversary edition, and we just talked about our qualms about that.
Right.
But I think it's outstanding.
I know.
I love the Grand Prix art. This is such an iconic cover.
But
the foiling around the outside with the snitches in the corner is really cool.
The gold frame sets it off Mary Grand Prix's cover art beautifully.
The 25th, they did have to shrink.
So I'll give it an outstanding with a condition.
Okay.
Saying they were lazy. They should have done much better, but it looks really pretty.
Yep. It is. They did have to shrink the Harry Potter like part of the book a little bit,
which
just to fit the border. Which it does. You don't notice it unless you hold it up next to it. I will say the font of the author at the bottom is a different font. It's more of like just like a bold,
and it's gold foiling
font. And they also they moved the foiling down to that, so there is more foil on the front. I will say the fact that you can put all 7 of these together and make a picture is really cool, even though that picture has already been released.
It's not new art.
Before.
We've seen
it
on the
same as
box
the
set.
Book 7 Deluxe Edition too. If you fold out the art there, and yes, it's on the box set as well. But
and it's
just in terms of the art,
for those who are wondering,
it's outstanding though. Like it's an iconic cover.
It's one of those,
and they dressed it up a little bit more.
So it's got to be outstanding, but. When you what was interesting is when you held it up and I couldn't read the lettering because of the glare from it. You know what it reminded me of? Malayalam. With all the foiling on the cover.
Yeah, it's really shiny. The foil is a little shinier than the other versions of this book.
I'll give it that. It's a better quality foiling, it looks like.
If I didn't know this was an anniversary book and just saw this as like a paperback in the store, I'd be like, whoa, that's really cool. I love it.
Well, it was like the girl that checked me out on the counter. That's a really pretty book. And then I said, it's for the 25th anniversary. And she was like, they could have done better. And I was like, I know. So it's one where if you don't know what it is, it's really pretty. If you do know what it is like we do, it gets a pretty butt. You know?
Sure. It's a pretty butt, Carly. That's a quote from Carly right there. This book is a pretty butt.
You can take that any way you want.
X Factor. I just think the X Factor is the
foiling.
Oh, you're going foiling? Okay.
I'm going foiling.
Then I will go that you can put all 7 together and make a picture on the spine, because as someone that has tons of books on a shelf in my house, it's cool when the spines make a picture.
Yeah. They could have done something new.
They could have, but
what if they would have put a picture on the 4 edges all put together? I shared a really cool thing on the Dialogue Alley story where this girl, she took a box set, put it in a vise, and painted like the beautiful like Hogwarts castle kind of background, the iconic Hogwarts in the distance picture on the 4 edges. It's phenomenal. They could have done something like that and sprayed the top and bottom, pushed them together, keep the rest of the books the same. They don't even have to do the foiling. Just a fun side edge. Why is this hard?
I don't know.
But it was. It was too hard. It was too hard.
Anyway, so that's the Scholastic paperback.
It gets a sad trombone from me at the end of the
25th anniversary of Sorcerer's Stone.
Sad trombone.
In American
outstanding
English.
book. Womp, womp, womp.
Womp, womp. The book itself, great. What it was for and what it could have been.
Yeah.
Sad trombone.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's such a weird oxymoron of like, I love it, but I'm also sad. And I'm kind of mad that I love it.
I know. It is what it is. But speaking of is what it is, that is all the time we have on this episode of Dialogue Alley. Thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can find us on social media. Carly's at All the Pretty Books. I am at Nocturne Eric, and Melanie is at all Melanie is at the Harry Potter Collection. She's not here. That's I had a little panic attack. I was like, what? Where's Melanie? Where'd she go? Melanie's at the Harry Potter Collection. Those are all of our Instagram handles. If you'd like to find us on Facebook, we have a Facebook page. We have a Twitter, which is dialogue_alley. Melanie does have a pretty groovy TikTok page. Magically
it's pretty
Melanie.
awesome.
It's pretty awesome. You can also find our podcast on our website, which is dialoguealley.com. Carly has a website, alltheprettybooks.net. Melanie has a website, theharrypottercollection.com. You can find Dialogue Alley on the website, which is MuggleNet. So if you go to the MuggleNet website, we are on there as well.
Yep.
Alongside other really great Harry Potter podcasts and content related to all things Harry Potter. So go ahead and check us out on MuggleNet as well. You're listening to us somewhere, so great work. You found us. But if you want to listen to us other places, anywhere you can stream shows, we're there, including your smart speaker. You can shout at it at your Google, the Google Dot? What do they have?
I don't know. I don't.
No,
I
Amazon's
have
got
an
the
Amazon
Echo. I have an Amazon Echo too. You can shout at your smart
devices.
speaker. It will play our podcast. That's pretty cool. It's especially because it does show. I have the screen one, so it shows the picture of the book that we talk about, which is usually the art for each of the episodes. So check us out on there. If you'd like to support our show, you're doing so already. Thank you for listening. Your support means so much to us. Just the fact that you're here listening to us every week is really outstanding. So thank you so much. However, if you'd like to take it a little bit further, you can visit our Patreon, which is patreon.com/dialoguealley. Here you can support us in 3 different tiers, all of which have various levels of bonuses that you get, such as bonus episodes, ad-free episodes, access to our Discord, which is a great community of collectors, and other little surprises and fun things. So we have someone listening along live, Annabelle from our Discord, which is another perk. You can live listen into episodes.
Yeah.
And she says,
and chat along with us, because I've been reading the chat, the comments and things.
So Annabelle says, do it. It's fun. And I agree. It is fun.
We're pretty fun. So is Annabelle.
We are pretty fun. I will also say that even though it's June, we are going to kind of cut back on the amount of episodes we are going to release in the summertime, because it is summertime. So we might switch to every other week. We haven't decided when that's going to happen. But just be aware if all of a sudden Tuesday comes and you don't have an episode from us.
And it'll be on our Instagram and in the Discord too. It'll be everywhere that we publish things.
If you go to look for us and they're like, "Oh, it's Tuesday. Where's your episode?" Go to our social medias, see if we've posted something about it, because we will definitely do that if we switch our release schedule. Currently, we're a weekly podcast, but we might cut down to every other in the summer because, hey, it's summertime. Get outside and have fun. And
we also have bonus content too. We've got bonus episodes and things for our Patreon people. So there is also that. So if you really just want more of us, we do produce bonus episodes from time to time.
There you go. Couldn't have said it better myself. And with that being said, Carly, it is time to walk back through the archway and into our daily lives, and we will catch you all later on the next episode of Dialogue Alley. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Melanie would say, see ya.